Sundays at 7/6 Central.
Brace yourselves, guys.
If you want to be in the know, you'll want to see what's hot, what's not, and what's next.
It's your man Nelly, you're watching CW. Wow!
From the producers of Extra, you'll want to see CW Now. Sundays, 7/6 Central on the CW. Brought to you exclusively by Walmart and Halo 3. In stock and available on September 25th. It's the fastest way to play.
People have finished it, or if they haven't quite finished the fight, then they've read all the spoilers anyway. Okay. So I don't want to have to worry about spoilers. All right. And we've all finished it.
So in the Maw Redux, I'm really worried that they're going to have a skull hidden someplace. And no, I did not fall in by Warthog. Hog. I'm a very cautious driver.
What level were you playing at? You were on normal? Yeah.
None of us are playing easy. Let's not talk about
I only played normal because my first time through the game, I always played normal because that's what the developers have chosen to present as their default difficulty level. Like, that's how they tune it for the average gamer. So, you know, I feel like that's how you should experience it.
I'm just my mother.
You're the big fan of the fiction. Like, I think the biggest one here in the office. So, like,
I like stories.
Yeah, like, what did you think in the end?
Well, I thought, okay, I'll buy Halo 4 when you guys come out with it. That's what I thought.
Wait, so are you saying you think they really left it open for a sequel?
Did you watch the stuff after the credits?
Yeah, but I think it's not. It wasn't like that Gears of. Did you see the ending of Gears of War? So it's not like the end of Gears of War, and I don't know why I keep using this example, but the modern day Godzilla movie from about a decade ago, like it's like this just silly, cliched Hollywoodness, where it's like at the end you think everyone's happy, everything, the world's saved, the city is saved, and then they pan at the very end, you see one more egg. You know, it's oh, they left it open, like that's it. It's like
this is open in a different way. Like, at the end of the story, most of the major components of the Halo story are resolved, but they never really show what happens with the brutes. Like, the brutes were pretty much kicking humanity's ass, and then they're gone. So I feel like there's kind of this unresolved element that needs to be taken care of. And, you know, there's still kind of this tension with the elites. They're like, yeah, I don't like you, but thanks for helping out, now go home. And, you know, Master Chief's off floating in space saying, you know, wake me up when you need a sequel. So...
miss you.
Wake me when you need me.
See the legendary ending? The ending on the ending for legendary?
Now, can you do it like the old games where you just have to play the last level on legendary? Because I'm like almost done, but I want to see that ending as well. I didn't see it.
Yeah, what it is it's the same as the others, only then as the ship, like, after it goes from wake me if you need me, and it's drifting in space, and then it falls into orbit around this planet, which you can see is like clearly populated by something. Like, there's clear civilization.
Master Chief's half of the ship?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, and so, and it's an undetermined amount of time.
Right? They're like going into the Star Wars crossover territory. There you go.
I think it's Vulcan. I think I'm finally going to get the slash fic I've always dreamed of.
Don't let her go. Don't ever let her go. Send me out.
I like it when there's not a lot of the like bullshit catch up, but there could have been more explanation of the story that they gave us.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was because I didn't know like what had happened in the story so far, because I absolutely do. If you didn't play Halo 1 and 2, you're screwed. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to figure out who all these people
you
are.
like this?
I like that.
They do give you the flashbacks with Cortana, so you can kind of get a sense of what's going on. They're using the same technique that Metal Gear Solid 4 is using, actually, where as you play, you just get these like quick flashbacks that show you.
Wait, are they flashbacks that he's getting, or are they
they're like
mind
transmissions?
melds?
But they sort of serve the same function.
Right.
Like they kind of give you a sense of what's happening.
But you don't know who Gravemind is. You don't know why she's there. You don't know like what are the Flood? Why are we afraid of them? Like none of it's explained, which I actually don't mind.
I don't think that's smart. I think because you gotta think. There's also a lot of people who are Halo 2 fans, but they haven't touched a campaign in 3 years. I think they could have had a one-page, you know, you could do a Star Wars type scrolling thing just to give you like a one-page.
It's called the internet, dude.
Yeah, but
the game does have supplemental materials, though.
Yeah.
I mean, does the normal edition? I know the collector's edition. Yeah, the collector's edition has plenty of backstory information. So, if for some reason you somehow missed the first 2 Halo games, but want to jump in,
stuff. It's like the man.
Story stuff. What do you guys think of the single player game on its own? Just like how did it compare to the other 2?
It was a vast refinement over the first 2 games. Like
Yeah,
everything that I've
loved it.
complained about with the first 2 games, the copy and paste levels, the fact that the enemies are just like there's like 5 kinds of enemies, especially the Flood, which are just like the same 3 dudes over and over.
Those are so improved.
Yeah, all of these things have been greatly improved. The brutes are so much better than they were in Halo 2. Like they're fun to fight. They're not just these big guys who berserk when you shoot at them. They actually have a lot of tactics, a lot of strategies. They use all kinds of different weapons. The X button items that they use really change up the way the battles play out. The Flood, like there were Flood forms, of course, that were never seen before. And they all have different strategies, like those spider guys that join together into like bigger guys.
I hated that crap.
Yeah,
The
and then they
turn into
they have
turrets,
the
you know?
Well, no, there's other dudes. There's like dudes who just look like spiders, and they join together into like big hulking guys. And then there's like these little things that scuttle around on all 4s, and then they pop up their tail and shoot at you.
Those are the
Those
ones I
guys
hate.
suck.
Yeah.
I hate those
Because
guys.
you don't see those until there's something shooting at you from the ceiling.
Yeah, they're on the ceiling.
Mother.
You can barely hit them.
Yep. And the second you get out, they have like perfect aim.
Right.
And they're like,
in like unlimited ammo, it seems, you know?
yeah,
Just keep shooting out
because they're
their
growing
spores.
it.
Right.
I count 2 scarabs. Repeat, 2 scarabs.
The fight with the 2 scarabs, you know, they both come out into the snow there, and you have your choice of like Warthog or the Hornet, you know, or stealing a ghost.
For the second one.
And taking one of the scarabs down is like one of the greatest like gaming experiences I've had, because like it feels like what you dreamed like Luke Skywalker taking out an AT-AT Walker would feel like, you know, like this giant beast that has its own mind, and you just have to like, somehow scale it, get on top of it, and somehow take it out. You know, and this thing is alive. It's not a scripted event, and that's impressed me more than anything. And then having 2 of them and having like you guys everywhere flying around, there's like a huge battle going on. You're focused on one thing, but everyone else is doing something else. You know,
that part was cool, but I have to admit that I was a little bit disappointed because I feel like the game kind of showed its hand way too early. You fight a scarab in like the 3rd, 4th level, and there's nothing else really shocking like that through the rest of the game. Like you fight scarabs again, but you know you've already fought them. But no, so you change up your strategies
I wanted
a
to
little.
fight it again.
Yeah.
I was excited to. I knew I was going to fight it again, and I was excited for
I wanted
that.
something new and different. Like the scarabs who were in Halo 2 also, they were different. They weren't as good,
you were
but
fighting them.
but it was still, you know, like these familiar things. I wanted something that would surprise me.
So
and
like you wanted something,
like
a
the final
new
level.
scarab.
Like the escape sequence is the final level of Halo all over again, and it's bigger, it's more impressive, it's a lot more stressful because there's like the floor exploding and collapsing around you. So I kind of
there was no like
I kind of
new
wanted it
like
to
wow
ramp up
moment
the
where like you would just something that would just blow you away.
right. Like the
remember
only thing really new you fight toward the end of the game is the monitor. That's really pretty much it.
That's kind of a lame
Yeah,
fight.
that's kind of
And
pretty
it was
nice.
just like I'm gonna stand here and miss you. Okay, next time I think I'll miss you again.
When you're saying that there's nothing new, though, I mean, for me, I mean, the whole game was just so, like, I didn't want a whole new Halo. Like, they didn't have to give me, like, all new, and
like,
Halo has never been about, like, boss battles or any of that. It's about these encounters, right? It's about these, like, moments where you're like, holy shit, like you're going along, you're like, I'm fucking kicking ass. And then all of a sudden you'll hit an encounter where like, oh my god, there's a brute pack here and a brute pack here and that, oh shit. You know, and you're trying to figure out your way through this encounter and all of a sudden you're dying over and over again. You're like, okay, so I gotta take care of that wraith. But before I do that, I gotta take care of these, you know, and it's figuring out, it's almost puzzly at times. These encounters are so elaborate.
And because of that, like, I did find it, like, I died a lot too on some of those encounters, and I wasn't frustrated like I would be in other games, because like, I'm thinking about it. I'm not like saying, all right, I'm gonna start over. I'm just like, maybe I'll start a different way. Yeah, and it is like a more refined game, and like, the level variety is nice. Like, it's more different than the previous ones where it seemed like it was just like space station after space station, you know, these, you know,
a lot of
hallways after hallways.
And even when there is backtracking,
there's a lot.
You say there's a lot.
There is, but there isn't a lot. It's early on, and it's never boring, and usually you're taking a different path, and there'll be different bad guys waiting for you.
I don't agree. I think it's the second level, you're backtracking through the entire level. It's not just like parts of it or something. It's like go all the way to the end and then go all the way back, and then you have to do that later on in the flood layer. Go all the way through and go to the back. The flood one is especially hard because it's so organic and it's so like 360. You know, there's like higher levels. It's kind of tough to know where you're supposed to go.
There's no like landmarks. I mean, easy way to know where you're going.
Yeah, but I mean, like, why have that? It's like they heard the complaints from the previous games, and they know people don't like it. Like, why?
Yeah, why doesn't the Arbiter blow out another entrance? You know, just through it somewhere. You know,
other games figure out their ways around that. And if there's important to the story where you have to backtrack through one area, like where I didn't mind it was when the flood crashed and the city became this kind of smoky, fiery haze, and it's like, okay, the aesthetics were changed. It looks a little different now, and you know, you get to see this a little bit different, this dark side of the city.
Totally different enemies. That's the thing.
But that's
the backtracking in this game to me is totally different, and I don't object to backtracking as a basic.
In the Cortana level was only like 5-10 minutes. It's not that long.
I mean, you're essentially running back out. It's not like you're staying and fighting.
Like an hour long, an hour and a half, and just the last little section of that is backtracking.
Also, like the metagame. I don't know how much you guys have had in single player as far as like unlocking skulls and then having the score. Like when you go into co-op, like that score just totally changes the game.
It really, like, I love it. It feels like an entire different game.
Yeah, and it increases replayability in a way that like I really didn't anticipate. Like you think like, do I care that much about score? But like you find different ways through those encounters, which you can do so many different ways to get that maximum amount of points.
Yeah, and it makes you like rush through it. You know, you're no longer methodical because you want to get to that next guy first and shoot him in the head first. You know, it's like it becomes a race.
It's weird too. Like I got to give part of the credit for the appeal of that mode to achievements, because I feel like there's a score I'm shooting for. You know what I mean? And you know, you got to turn, like, it's really impossible to do unless you put it on legendary difficulty, and you have to, I think you probably need at least 3 skulls to make it even achievable.
If you've got more than one player,
yeah.
Single player, like, I think it's like heroic with skulls on is really the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure they've got math geniuses figuring out exactly like how to get the best scores, and even now, if we went to the internet's message boards, they would tell us. The sad part about the awesome save film stuff is that for campaign, you can't like make clips. You can make awesome screenshots, but like if you're playing in standard def, which I do because I'm like most of America, I'm not like you Richie Riches.
That's really come over to my place and use my TV sometime?
No. Okay. If you save this screen, it renders it in real time, I guess. So all my screens are saved in like standard def 4:3. It's a small complaint, and there's no rewind on the film.
That drives
I don't
me
understand
nuts.
why.
That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I'm like, last night I was trying to capture this perfect shot, and I skip right, and you're like barely tapping the right trigger to get to advance it frame by frame, and then you miss it, and you're like, you gotta back up 10 seconds and then get back to frame by frame. It was driving me crazy. But it's such a little.
It's
you know what?
Stupid. It's a stupid thing to complain about when you consider like I want every game from now on to have save films.
But do we sound like a bunch of jaded people now? It's like this awesome new function that you never had before, and then we're like, what are the functions that are missing here? Because it
would feel different if they had never given me the button.
Yeah.
Like they needed to not give me that button. I need to not see that, and then I wouldn't miss it. Let's mention about the Legendary Edition. A lot of
that's just collector's,
this
right?
is collector's. This is the limited edition, right? And a lot of them have this problem where like this is so cheap and shitty that the discs fall out and then they bang around in this cheap shitty tin.
Yeah, they come out looking all scratched and scruffy.
Mine was mine didn't work. Mine only works like 1 out of every 5 times.
Yeah, Microsoft's replacing them.
Yeah, but like how many weeks will that take? For your average person, it's like...
Just, send it back with your Bioshock figurine and you're good to go.
and your
Xbox 360, which is Red Ring of Death.
This is just the one that Microsoft sent us. I actually ordered the Legendary Edition, and I know that those discs are protected by a helmet, and they won't be scratched.
Right.
Sundays at 7, 6 Central.
Brace yourselves, guys.
If you want to be in the know, you'll want to see what's hot, what's not, and what's next.
It's your man Nelly, you're watching CW. Wow.
From the producers of Extra, you'll want to see CW Now. Sundays, 7, 6 Central on the CW. Brought to you exclusively by Walmart and Halo 3. In stock and available on September 25th. It's the fastest way to play.
たちが遊んでたものを集めようっていう感じで、そうするとこういったゲームとかテレサイゲーム、それの上のマリオとかそういうグッズとかそういう集めてるお店っていうのは少ないんで、そこでそういった商品を集めたお店を出そうっていうのが多分初めだったと思うけど。コレクターの人か、あとは懐かしく買うかっていう感じ、2つに分かれる。あとは、デザインとかでも買う人もいますけど、それは多分少数な、今は少数派になってしまう。ゲームに関しては好き、遊んでて面白くて、クリアも楽なのが好きなので、そうするとあっちにライスボールパズルっていう画期的なパズルもできて、相手も戦うっていう、移動おいしいみたいなのを遊んでて面白かったんで。このお店はどうしてオープンしたかというと、それは来ていただければ話しますので、どうぞ来てください。この方バイバイ言っていいんですか？
Rated M for mature.
It's like, for me, multiplayer has always been about, if you look at most big name console shooters, Halo 1 is still more customizable than most other games, you know, except for maybe Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. I think that's probably, they've done a really good job with it, but, and Perfect Dark Zero even, you know, they've done a good job with it. But really, like, Halo 3 is insane with all the options. So you could just play the normal modes. Already, their normal modes, like, it kind of makes, when you go back and look at Shadowrun and Gears of War, it kind of makes their multiplayer games look like jokes, because it's like, you got Oddball, you got Team Slayer, you got Assault, you got Capture the Flag, you got King of the Hill, and then you have variations within those, and that's just what comes with the game. And then if you want to go in and tweak it, then it just gets nuts from there. Because like we play this mode, like I was playing around with the options and I saw, oh, you could get bonus points for killing the leader. So I turned that on. I'm like, okay, you get an extra kill for killing the leader. And then you can turn it on where an icon appears over the active scoring leader at any point. Just turning on those two options, like we played Slayer that way, it completely changes the flow of the game, because now all of a sudden all the matches are close because everyone always knows where the leader is. You're always going for him. It's always easy to catch up on the score, and it's really intense. And when you're the leader, you're confident, but at the same time, you know everyone's gunning for you.
It's cool too that you can share the mode as well, and I mean, Shu could send it to you, and it bubbles up the stuff from the community. So I guess if enough people, I would imagine, are playing the same sort of custom game type, they'll actually incorporate it into the playlists, and then so it's like your work putting together a really cool custom mode might not just be just for your friends. It might end up like going a lot farther.
And it's almost like a community project too, because someone's going to have a good idea and they're going to make it, and it won't be perfect, and then other people will take it and be able to tweak it, rename it, and put it out there, and people are going to keep doing that until these modes are perfected, and they're almost as good, if not better, than some of the modes that are put in with the game from the beginning.
And then there's Forge, which is a map editor. You know, it lets you tweak the objects in the level and move, you know, if you want to buy more tanks or vehicles or weapons or spawn points or flag points, all of this stuff, you can modify the maps all you want and play with your friends in the map editor environment as well. So it's like a free-form playground. And we watched Bungie do this. It could lead to so many possibilities. So we saw Bungie create this thing called Rocket Race, which is you take VIP, but you have teams of 2. So like Greg and I would be a team. If he's the VIP, I'm just the guy, kind of his bodyguard, you know, and protecting him. And then he and I are armed with rockets, and then we all get a mongoose, and then I have to drive him to all the different objective markers around a map. So there's one objective marker on, and we play this on Sandtrap, which is the biggest map in the game. We drive the mongoose there, and as long as the VIP touches that objective point, we score it, then another one shows up somewhere elsewhere in the map. Then you rush over to score that, and then you just go around and try to collect as many as you can before the other teams of 2. But only the VIP can score, but the VIP can't drive the mongoose. This is just like one extra mode. You might not even realize it's out there to download, but it's so much fun.
You said you could like go to Bungie.net and queue it up, so like when you turn on your system again.
Well, you could be in the office, and rather than working, you could be checking out Bungie.net. You could see what the favorite games are, what the best maps are that's on the top. You can queue them for download. And then when you log back into Halo 3, you'll see on Halo 3, it'll say queue for download. It'll tell you when it's finished. And the second it's finished, you can immediately jump into it and start playing it with all your friends.
And you were telling me as well that you can go check out any previous match you played, and if anyone else took screenshots in that map or made a save film, you can go and see those as well.
Right, because the system internally caches, I think, your last 25 multiplayer matches, and you can then go back in all those, take screenshots, make clips, download the whole match if you wanted to. But if you miss one and you're thinking about it, you remember, you're like, man, I really wish you know, I had saved that. You're not completely out of luck because you can go back and see if anybody else did.
What's your favorite level so far, the maps you've tried?
You know, actually Epitaph. And Epitaph was one of the maps which is multi-layered, multi-story. It's got about 3 stories, levels, all kinds of little nooks for hiding and camping and waiting for people that I didn't think I was going to like very much. And that was actually the first map we tried your new game type on. And there's just so many different directions you can come at somebody from.
What's the, it's slipping my mind, the first game in the list? It has a waterfall in the background. It's based on the Ark.
Not Containment.
Construct.
Yeah.
That's my favorite map because it just has this kind of futuristic, pristine look to it. It's just beautiful. It has this waterfall in the background, and if I remember correctly, that's based on one of the single player levels on the Ark.
Yeah. It is.
And it's also multi-layered, and it has a huge lists that take you just like all the way to the top of this tower. It's a very vertical level, and it's I just love playing on that. It's pretty open, so you have sniping opportunities, and all the modes we play, like King of the Hill, all work really well on that map.
I know Greg and I were playing a match on Isolation last night. And that map's really cool because it has the open area up top, but on the inside it has those interiors where those hectic grenade battles and shotgun blasts in the interior, and of course it has everyone's favorite alien asshole that you get to walk through.
I think it's Gravemind's asshole. Yeah. And the very end, like the tube right before the asshole, like that little brown mudslide.
There's some good battles in the asshole.
Yes.
Some good times in there.
I just had this one moment that I just remember. I hope you say the film where
That's
you're on
the
the floating platform in the middle of the level inside where the rocket
I was
launcher
grabbing the rocket launcher, yeah.
and you were just sitting there looking down and shooting at people, and I was doing the lift up above you, and I had the hammer, and it just felt like something out of like I was like Thor from the comic books or something. It was just like coming down. I'm like, oh, this is sweet. This is sweet. I was saying that on the way down, and it's just like smash right on top of your head.
Well, the funny thing, right before I died, the last thing I heard like this crash that sounded like thunder. It was like Thor was coming down. The hammer of God was hitting me in the back of the skull. I was like, what the hell just happened?
Oh, it was
then I just heard you laughing as I spawned.
That was great, and that's what like the beauty of the safe films thing is.
Yeah.
You know, it's just you can capture that moment, and you can send pictures and talk trash.
Exactly.
You know, you could just remind your friend. If I would have saved it, I'd be sending you screenshots periodically just to remind you of what happened.